courtesies and highest respect to the Honorable Chair, Senator Panfilo Lacson, and the other committee members. Magandang hapon po. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our greetings of peace to everyone. We are honored to present to this august body the approved National Expenditure Program for 2019 and also to touch base with the 2017 and 2018 budget. According to unofficial statistics, particularly the Bureau of Muslim Settlement of NCMF, the Muslim Filipinos comprise almost 12% of the total population of the Philippines at 12,037,119. Under Republic Act 9997, the NCMF was created in February 2010 to preserve and develop the culture, tradition, institutions, and well-being of the Muslim Filipinos in conformity with the country's laws and in consonance with national unity and development. If Your Honor, please allow me to provide you an overview of the annual budget of NCMF. For 2016 up to 2017, there was an increase of 6 to 10% or 10 million in the NCMF budget. But for 2018, there was a significant budget cut, or 20%, or the equivalent of 39 million pesos. This budget cut, however, was restored in the fiscal year 2019. There was an increase of 55 million from the 2018 budget of 535 million pesos to 590 million pesos in the 2019 National Expenditure Program. But the increase is attributed to the implementation of the Information Systems Strategic Plan under the MITHI project of the Department of Information and Communications Technology and the Sustainable Conduct of International Conference on Islamic Finance, now on its 4th year. The increase may be significant, but the bulk of the budget is centered on information technology, not much for the programs of NCMF. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority of 2015, the Muslim population was 6,064,744. This is the official figure. So if we translate the MOE budget of 110 million versus the Muslim population, the government is giving an 18 pesos, 1/8, per capita income for every Muslim Filipino annually. With this budget, the NCMF is facing an uphill challenge in addressing the problems of the Muslim sector, particularly on violent extremism, poverty alleviation, high unemployment, illiteracy rate, peace and order, among others. Hence, we are appealing to our esteemed senators to help us increase our budget so that our agency can contribute significantly in the socio-economic reform agenda of the Duterte administration. I was recently appointed Secretary of NCMF, and as the new NCMF Secretary, I have committed to institute the much-needed reforms in the NCMF and its core function, particularly the Hajj or annual pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia, to improve the image of our agency, to try to be at par with other national government agencies. We can assure the distinguished Senator that NCMF will be more professional, proactive, and innovative under my watch. Toward this end, our action plan for the succeeding years outlines the strategic direction of the Commission. 1. The NCMF roadmap formulation. With the President being from Mindanao, we see this as an opportunity to revisit the NCMF's roadmap in the light of recent developments in the Muslim sector. In the process of developing the roadmap, we saw that it is important that issues and problems should be tackled by building partnerships where government, private sector, the academe, and civil society are involved. Some of these strategic moves are: 1, deploy a narrative to counter violent extremism and prejudice with consistent messaging at all levels, across all platforms, including the madrasas, the mosque, and all Islamic institutions. The NCMF supervises all the madrasas in the Philippines of more than 1,000. And we know that the madrasas is one of the areas where this introduction of foreign ideology and radical Islam, particularly the jihadi Salafist doctrine of radical Islam, is being delivered to our madrasas. And there is a need to counter this in order to instill in the minds of the Muslim citizenry that this radical brand of Islam is not acceptable to the Muslim population. Because we know, we have witnessed the rule of the Islamic State in the Middle East for 6 years, particularly in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, featured no democracy, no election. The ISIS themselves ruled these areas for 6 years. They closed the schools. There's no Western education. So this is not acceptable to us Muslim Filipinos, because this will foreclose our Muslim youth from becoming engineers, lawyers, and doctors. Under ISIS rule, they only promote madrasa under a controlled curriculum. These are the things that we need to disseminate to our people, particularly through the madrasas, the mosque, and the Islamic centers, because NCMF SIR has jurisdiction or supervision over more than 1,000 madrasas in the Philippines. Also with 1,506 mosques in the Philippines and the other Islamic institutions. It has networks with 238 religious organizations, including the national and the regional ulama councils. This is a tall order, because if you will examine the budget allocated for NCMF's madrasa, it's only 385,000 a year. There was a time I told Secretary Briones about our budget over the madrasas of 385,000, and she exclaimed, "How did you survive?" Because the budget of DPED on the madrasa education program under its Alive program is 700 million pesos. And yet, NCMF with this big responsibility is allocated only 385,000. So, if we want NCMF to win or to help in the war against violent extremism, I think it is just proper that we should increase the budget of NCMF. You know, we have witnessed in the Middle East how the Western powers bombarded the areas controlled by ISIS, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. These countries were flattened by the heaviest military airstrikes and artillery fire never seen in modern history. And yet, the ISIS are still alive and recruiting. If you compare this with other Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt, where they employed a sustained counter-propaganda against the ISIS, they unmasked the evils of ISIS, that the ISIS ideology is against Islam. The propaganda succeeded. In other words, the people in these three countries rejected the ISIS ideology. And the people there reported all ISIS militants, which led to their arrest and detention, leading to the defeat of the ISIS in these three countries without dropping a single bomb. Anthony Pratkanes, in his book, The Age of Propaganda, said that the credibility of the source and the message it conveys are crucial in a successful propaganda. What does this mean? It means that if a non-Muslim will try to discredit the Islamic State, then this will be hardly acceptable. But if a Muslim group like NCMF and its nationwide networks of Islamic institutions and religious organizations will say that the ways of the ISIS are against Islam, then that message will stick. And the Muslim populace will denounce this foreign ideology, which can lead to their arrest and detention. That is one of the strategic moves of NCMF. Second is to capacitate Muslim Filipino entrepreneurs for the Philippine halal industry. Third, provide legal protection for vulnerable Muslims. Fourth, provide settlements for displaced Muslim communities. And of course, another strategic direction of the Commission is the institutional reforms in the management of the Hajj operations. To start this reform initiative, we have immediately scheduled a comprehensive post-evaluation of the 2018 Hajj operation, probably in the first week of October, because the Hajj, Your Honor, has just been completed. I joined that Hajj operations last month. And the objective is to consolidate all the inputs coming from relevant government agencies and stakeholders involved in the Hajj, to develop a clear-cut policy Hajj guidelines and to adopt the best practices from Muslim countries such as Turkey, Malaysia, and Indonesia. The end goal is to reduce the Hajj rates in the Philippines, provide better hotel accommodations for the pilgrims, and ensure a hassle-free Hajj operations. The third direction, Your Honor, is administrative decentralization. We know that the Commission's regional offices are the implementing arm of NCMF, and they are created based on Muslim Filipino demographics in administrative regions. This entails that regional offices are expected to be the primary office that would cater to the needs and concerns of Muslim Filipinos within their area of coverage. Sadly, the central office of NCMF can only afford to send sub-allotment, barely enough for daily operations. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Secretary. First of all, welcome back to the government. I understand you used to be governor
Yes.
of Lanao Sur.
Lanao del Sur,
Lanao
the
del
capital in Marawi City.
Yeah.
I lost my house there, Senator,
When?
in the siege of Marawi last year.
Sitio Marawi. You lost your house.
I lost my
Yeah,
house
because
there.
talagang flattened din yung
Flattened din
buong
yun.
Marawi. Anyway, you mentioned, dalawa yung tumatak, you mentioned two things. How to address extremism, no? And you could provide a breath of fresh air dito sa NCMF, no? Addressing extremism, what's your take on the spate of bombings, no, that transpired recently? Sultan Kudarat, and since yung government security forces have yet to establish the motives and then identify suspects, ang nabanggit nyo kanina, more than 6 million Muslim ang Muslim population. If you could only utilize, no, yung entire Muslim population or at least a big majority, then probably we can address effectively itong acts of terrorism, particularly in Mindanao. Because there seems to be a vicious cycle when the Tripoli Agreement was signed, no? And then eventually nabuo yung organic act ng ARM, no? ARM was established. Hindi ba yung MILF was born, di ba? Lumakas yung pwersa ng MILF, yung MNLF, since they were already in good terms with the government, medyo laylo. And then now that we're talking to the MILF, nagkaroon tayo ng BOL, akala natin matatapos na yung gulo. But there seems to be a pattern that after we talk to a certain armed group in Mindanao, another group, a breakaway group, is, would come into being, and sila naman yung nanggugulo. So, how would you address such a problem, such a recurring problem, Secretary?
There are several factors about the Muslim problem, and we have mga land conflicts, poverty, illiteracy. These are the basic problems confronting us. And then, you have rightly stated that, pag naayos yung isang grupo, like the MNLF, lalabas yung MILF. Pag naayos naman yung MILF, lalabas naman ito. But I think this time around, medyo mas mabigat po ang problema because pumasok na sa Pilipinas itong radical brand of Islam, the jihadi Salafist thoughts that is becoming very popular among the young people. And we know for one that itong Islamic State that inspired the local terror groups, the Mauti, the BIFF of Maguindanao, the Abu Sayyaf of Basilan and Sulu, and lately the Ansarul Khilafa of South Cotabato. So, andyan pa rin sila. Despite what happened in Marawi, there was heavy bombing, the Mounties are still active, especially in the 2nd district where I came from, because my father is from Bayang, Lanao del Sur, the mayor there is my younger brother, and andun pa rin po sila, yung mga Mounties. They are still very active. So talagang ang kailangan dito, one solution is yung pong binanggit ko. Alam po ninyo, we have tried this in the Middle East. We learned our lessons in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, ang ginawa nila is counter-propaganda. They unmask the evils of ISIS. Kasi itong ideology ng ISIS iba eh. It is something that is not acceptable to us Muslim Filipinos. How can I live without TV? Without watching TV Patrol at night? Sa ISIS rule, walang TV, walang movies, walang, yung ang sinasabi ko, walang Western education. Hindi to katanggap-tanggap. So if we can use the NCMF with its vast networks of Islamic institutions, religious organizations, na sabihin natin sa mga Muslims na ito talaga itong ideology, hindi ito katanggap-tanggap. Pwede rin mangyari na ang mga Muslims na mismo ang magre-report. Oh, yan, ISIS yan, huliin yan. Itong mga ISIS movements. That way, we can defeat ISIS. Like what happened in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and United Arab Emirates. Kung ang inisip lang natin, military action, bomba, bomba, bomba. We have seen it in Marawi. It did not, hindi na completely natalo ang ISIS. Nandyan pa rin sila. So, yun po.
That's rather long-term, Governor, Secretary, no? Dahil you're thinking of some institutional and transformational efforts. In the meantime, that BOL is about to be, it has already been enacted and magkakaroon ng ratification sa plebiscite this coming January. Ano yung mga stopgap measures to address these problems? I'm looking at the mobilization of the NCMF, using, sabi nyo nga, yung vast resources, personnel resources, in addressing these problems. And probably we can establish a network. And I see in your proposed appropriations, meron kayong focus, especially sa capital outlay, do sa IT, sa information technology, which could be very useful sa networking capabilities ninyo, pag-enhance. So, meantime that we're thinking of some institutional solutions, mas maganda yung between now and the entry of the or the full implementation of the VOL, meron din tayo mga short-term and at the most yung medium-term plans to address these problems. Kasi security is part and parcel of development. One without the other, hindi naman mag-take off yung isa.
Tama po yun. Tama po yun. Malaking bagay po yung information technology na binigyan ng increase yung budget ng NCMF. That is, I think, 39 million, Heidi, no? 39 million. Yun po binalik yung na budget cut namin this year kasi nagkaroon kami ng budget cut na 39 million. So, binalik yon plus some amounts. Malaki pong bagay yon.
Is 39 million.
Oh.
May implement nyo ito within 2019, within the next fiscal year.
Yeah, ready?
So studies have been made how to go about this already. Yeah. Second item that you mentioned, yung professionalism, which brings me to, again, recurring issue ito, yung Hajj issue. Yung, bigyan nyo nga kami ng update ng Hajj passport scam. How many NCMF employees were indicted, and then ang status ng case, and what do you plan to do about this to address future problems along this line?
I think our executive director can provide an accurate answer.
Thank you, sir. The Hajj passport scam has been addressed last year, 2017. In fact, 8 to 11 employees and officials of the Commission have been indicted in RTC Pasay. And number one. Number two, we have totally abolished the use of Hajj passports in the Hajj, resulting to 0 foreigners last year, 2017. This year, we continued that policy. In fact, we met with the DFA last January before the Hajj implementation, and we made sure that such occurrence will not happen again. Three, some of the cases, sir, in Pasay RTC have been dismissed simply because the complainant failed to appear in the courts. And some of them, I think, are still pending, but we have required the BLA, the Bureau of Legal Affairs, in our office to monitor and continue the monitoring of the cases in RTC.
Sir COA, ito sabi rito na you incurred a negative balance of 7.4 million pesos in your 2017 Hajj operation. So, sige.
Yes, sir. Actually, when the Secretary went to Saudi Arabia this year, we found out that from 7.9 it became 11 million. 11 million, sir, so far, no? The Secretary.
Actually, sir, I talked to the complainant, Ilyas Company of Medina, and their total claim is 11 million pesos, not 6.5 million pesos. And these are unpaid obligations, according to them, of NCMF. Since that was my first engagement with this service provider in Medina, Saudi Arabia, I requested for time to verify all their allegations. This is a very important issue, sir, because if we do not settle this unpaid obligation, then the Philippine pilgrimage is blocked in the e-portal. That is the online reservation for the Mutawif. So if we cannot gain access to the e-portal, then no Philippine pilgrim will be allowed to go to Saudi Arabia.
So you have to settle this.
We have to settle that.
Ito yung statement ng COA, this negative balance would not have happened had the chairman of the Hajj pilgrimage 2017 efficiently and effectively managed and supervised the spending activities of the Hajj program. So, what are the reasons behind?
I think the chairman of
Sige
the
nga.
2017 pilgrim was Commissioner Dagit. And,
2017 kayo ang chairman?
Yeah, 2017.
Oh, ito yung observation ng COA.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Actually, 2017 Hajj, ang nangyari diyan is, merong sa namin, sa financial management namin, iba ang dinesignate ng secretary ng mga signatories doon sa mga check-in na i-issue doon sa Saudi, yung mga payment sa Saudi Arabia. Iba sa Pilipinas. Ganun pa man, ang namin, sa record namin, lahat ng financial namin is intact naman lahat ng mga pilgrims na paid. Ang nagiging problema namin doon sa Medina na hindi nabayaran, yung sa supervisory team namin na supposed to be 90 lang ang free. Pero umabot kami ng 151 due to the number of the pilgrims, umabot kami ng 6,000. So, nagdagdag kami ng medical team, nagdagdag kami ng other supervisories. Kaya yung sa 51 na yun na more than that 90 na libre, supposed to be libre sa lahat ng babayaran, ay hindi nabayaran ng NCMF yun. Yung kanilang registration fee at saka other amounts to be
So,
paid.
have you settled this issue with COA? Not yet. Settled na ba with COA ito?
We submitted our report to the COA and explained that to them.
And any feedback from COA?
Wala pa hanggang ngayon.
Wala pa.
Mr. Senator.
Ito pa another issue, no? Most in the briefer submitted to me concerning mga COA reports, Payment of overtime services exceeded the 50% of the total annual salary of some employees, amounting to 3.3 million, give or take. Contrary to the provisions of CSC and DBM Joint Circular 2015-001, dated November 15, 2015, na hindi pwede ma-exceed ng 50%. So, again, that's another COA issue that you have to deal with. Tapos, overtime services rendered was paid twice for the period June and August, totaling 788,000. Sige nga, please.
So with regard to the overtime payment, exceeding 50%, during the last COA exit report conference we did in the commission, we raised that issue with the commission on audit, and we required the employees concerned to refund or reimburse the excess, or else there will be legal actions to be taken against them. In fact, for the past 3 months, the officials and employees concerned are already paying back the excess payment given to them for overtime. Secondly,
All of them have refunded.
they're now doing the refund because I think some of them have a small salary, but the refund is quite big. So the COA agreed that it will be paid in installments. Secondly, sir, we are very strict in the overtime processing now. In fact, the Secretary has added more requirements for us to be able to do overtime in the Commission.
You have to face all these challenges, Mr. Secretary, and reforms are needed actually. And without full supervision, baka hindi makorek itong mga issues na until now hindi pa rin nasisettle. So, you mentioned something about additional appropriations. Can you justify para saan yung additional appropriations that you intend to ask?
I mentioned about the meager budget for NCMF's supervision over the madrasas. Kasi malaki yung
What did Secretary Biones tell you? How would she address this problem? Yung very low and meager funding for madrasa.
Yeah, our director Director Laman Piang is the one in charge on the madrasas. I think you can
Good
respond.
afternoon, sir. What we did with the amount for madrasa is to just having activities enough for what we have, like organizing the different madrasa administrators. We already have done that. We asked them to have their own unified curriculum so that every madrasa, every administrator should forget or ignore their own curriculum based on where they finish their schooling abroad.
No, my question was, you appealed to Secretary Biones. So, anong action taken nung DepEd do sa appeal ninyo, Secretary?
According to Secretary Briones, she will help us make the proper representations to the DBM, kay Secretary Jokno. And accordingly, she really talked to Jokno, but alam mo na, masyadong very busy ang budget secretary natin attending to the preparation ng NEP at that time. So, kailangan siguro ng follow-up yon. Because as far as the 2019 budget is concerned, hindi po nasama yun. Hindi nasama sa 2019. So, our best bet is in the next fiscal year, 2020, kung sakasakali.
Bigyan nyo nga kami ng konting parang overview lang on how do you intend to fit yourself into the BOL once it's the new organic act under the BOL, Bangsa Moro Organic Law. How would NCMF fit in to make it more efficient and effective? Actually,
Sir, one core function of NCMF, as I stated, is the Hajj operations. But under the BOL, this function was taken up from us insofar as the armed areas are concerned. May provision na sinasabi that the Bangsamoro Transitory Authority shall establish a Bangsamoro Pilgrimage Authority that shall have jurisdiction over Hajj and Umrah functions in the armed areas.
That would make your office irrelevant as far as Hajj.
Yeah, we can still be relevant outside armed, but the bulk of the Muslim population is in armed. So, meron pa kami doon, siguro, I'm a lawyer by profession, siyang sinasabi doon, yung function ng BT is jurisdiction, hindi sinabi na exclusive. So, I would assume that the jurisdiction is concurrent, meaning it can be exercised both by the BOL and NCMF.
In fact, that was the subject of intense debate here. Yung delegated, yung exclusive powers versus concurrent.
Yeah. Actually, I realized na unti-unti the wings of NCMF are being clipped. Una, sa amin yung Sharia. Natanggal po sa amin ang Sharia. Then, followed by the halal industry. Sa amin din po yun, tinanggal din sa amin, nilagay sa DTI. Ngayon yung Hajj, the core functions ng NCMF, na nawala na rin. So, baka kunti-kunti
So, what
na
is the
lang.
future of NCMF? And tinanong nyo ba kung anong reasons for the continuous clipping of your authority?
I do not know. As I said, I was recently appointed, so hindi ko alam talaga yung istorya niyan. But ang alam ko, talagang pinag-initan ng NCMF because of its
but you
negative
intend to-
image before.
Yeah. I think
Pinag-initan.
it's contributory.
Yeah, that's right. Kaya nga
And,
po, natanggalan kami ng 39 million itong year na budget, which we badly need. Kailangan namin yan.
And in fact, restored for the 2019. di ba?
Yeah, 2019.
So anyway, you're facing so many challenges, and I can only wish you good luck sa bagong endeavor ninyo. Yung pag-justify lang ng additional funding that you mentioned a while ago, kindly give us some specifics. So anyway, we cannot increase the budget, but we can, outsource from other agencies na sa tingin natin, and that's a function of Congress, of legislation.
Yes.
We can amend, but we cannot, go over the top of what the President has submitted to us. So yun lang, that much we can offer you. Now, if you can justify, give us good reasons for an incremental increase of your budget, then kindly do so, and please submit that in due time, maybe within the week or next week, before I submit my subcommittee report to the Mother Committee. So it's 2 o'clock. Papalayasin tayo ng Sergeant at Arms dito. So with that, I will suspend the hearing, and we'll just await the submission of some of the documentary requirements that I mentioned. So thank you, and again, welcome back to the government.
Marami pong salamat, Senator. Marami pong salamat. We will submit that in due time. Ha? Gawin natin yun. Yung sabi ni Senator, ha? Baka